God has plans to prosper you, give you hope and a future too. So let me remind you of what you have the power to do.
You've been on a journey, trying to find your way. Like the sun, you're rising, 'cause today's your day to unlock every gift inside. Let your potential flow. Don't let anybody kill your vibe. Time to bust up and show. Gotta keep on reaching, keep believing. Act like you know you can win. Live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra. We've got wellness, church by phone. You don't even have to leave your home to be inspired. To rise a little higher with Cassandra. They said you'd never make it, but you're still here. Kept on pushing through all your doubts and fears. Never let a hater see you sweat. Remember who you are. When they go low, let them reap what they sow while you go far. Gotta keep on reaching, keep believing. Baby, shine like a star. You can win, live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra. If you got haters, they gon' hate. Keep your head up and just be great. It's your season, your winning season with Cassandra. Rise up, time to get on your grind. Go after your dreams, no time to fall behind. Push till the end and never give in. It's your winning season, get ready to win. Keep moving forward and never look back. It's time to get motivated with Cassandra Mack. You can win, live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra Mack. We've got wellness, church by phone. You don't even have to leave your home to be inspired. To rise a little higher with Cassandra Mack.
Welcome to the Cassandra Mack channel, a channel dedicated to providing biblical wisdom and upliftment to those who want to be part of this community. So you know this up front, comments that are divisive, disrespectful, or deliberately contrary to the teaching shared here will be deleted and the person will be blocked. Understand that I post as I'm led by the Lord. I do not post for anyone's approval or validation. Therefore, I will not be swayed by those who come in bad faith to troll or who come with a disruptive agenda. If you find that this channel doesn't align with you, that's perfectly okay. If you are offended by my rules, my directness, or my delivery, that's okay also. I encourage you to find the YouTube channel that's a better fit, since obviously we're not it. And if you choose to unsubscribe, no need to announce your departure. We are not the airlines. At any time, you can simply choose not to get on board. To everyone else, thank you for being here. Let's continue to grow together. God bless you. So we're just a few days away from Thanksgiving and the start of the holiday season, which for many is a time of joy, celebration, family bonding, family togetherness. But not for everybody. For a lot of people, it's also a time of extreme emotional struggle. And when you're looking at all the commercials, when you are looking at all the songs, all the television shows that put forth this close-knit family bond, and that's not your reality, those feelings of stress, sadness, loneliness can exacerbate. And holiday-induced stress is a real thing. And your mood can change. You can feel more anxiety, especially if you have a strained relationship with your family or you are totally estranged from your family. And I want you to know that you are not alone. And I want to talk about a couple of things that you can do. And I also want to look at this through a spiritual lens as well. One of the things that is important to keep in mind is that when you are feeling extremely sad, and we're not talking medically but spiritually, when you're feeling extremely sad during the holidays, it's important to understand that this is not just a war on your peace, but it is also a war on your purpose. And I want you to think about this. Have you ever felt a specific, intense attack on your peace as you get closer to the holidays? Like this is usually what you go through every year. Maybe there's a sudden family argument that seems to come out of nowhere, or a wave of sadness that descends on you like a hanging light, or anxiety that makes you feel immobilized. And so what if I told you that this isn't just stress alone from a spiritual perspective? Because you got to remember, in accordance with Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, power, spiritual wickedness in high places. And so this is also a calculated, strategic spiritual attack. And the target isn't just your joy. You need your joy because, in accordance with the Bible, Nehemiah 8:10, the joy of the Lord is our strength, right? But it is also an attack on your very purpose. And think about it, it makes sense, especially those of you who you're finally getting clearer about your purpose. Even if you've got questions and you're not sure of all the steps to take, there's still a sense of clarity that you are moving forward in a specific direction. Whether you're writing a book, whether you're moving forward in ministry, whatever it looks like in your life personally. And it is no accident that the enemy would use the holidays. It makes sense. You got to think about who the enemy is. Would use the holidays to exacerbate stress, to exacerbate feelings of isolation and loneliness, to exacerbate feelings of sadness, to keep you distracted. And so today we are pulling back the curtain on the devil's holiday playbook, and we're going to see why he goes so much harder during the holidays to not only steal your peace, but it's also linked to your purpose. And his ultimate goal is to destabilize you and pull you away from the God-given destiny that is rightfully yours. Let me say this again for the people in the back. You gotta peep his game. His ultimate goal is to destabilize you mentally and emotionally, because if he can do that, he can keep you so destabilized that it pulls you away from purpose and destiny. Now, John 10:10 tells us this about the enemy. It tells us that the thief comes only, his only reason is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But Christ comes so that we may have light and have life more abundantly. And so think about it. The thief comes only, the only reason he comes in accordance with John 10:10 is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And so he wants to steal our peace. He wants to kill our motivation. That's the stealing of our joy, because the joy of the Lord is our strength. Joy is not temporary happiness that is based on what happens. Joy is the settled awareness that God is with you. Joy emanates from gratitude. But when it's joy of the Lord, that's what gives you the inner strength, right? Nehemiah 8:10. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And so the joy of the Lord is our inspiration. Now that word strength is inclusive within this context of steadfastness, perseverance, tenacity. These are the attributes that allow us to not give up when we feel weary. Now we're going to feel weary. Great men and women from the Bible felt weary. We will feel weary. Yes, we will. That's part of life. And when you're feeling weary, cast your cares on the Lord. When you're feeling weary, if you need to sit down with a therapist so that you have a safe space to mentally unpack and learn some coping skills to cope and to care for yourself, do what you need to do. If your therapist, your psychiatrist, prescribe medication to help you stabilize your mood, there's no shame in that, right? So that is taking care of your brain. Just how if you were a diabetic, you would take your medicine, but while you're taking your medicine, you're still moving forward in purpose and destiny with the measure of strength that you have. It's the same thing when there's a mental health issue. You're still moving forward in the measure that you have, and you're taking care of the things you need to take care of mentally. Don't let nobody shame you because you are doing the work of faith. The Bible tells us faith without works is dead, right? And so you're doing the practical work of faith, going to therapy. You are believing God for your healing. God uses people. God is a spirit. And so when you are moving forward, you're going to therapy, you're taking medication, possibly, whatever your specifics are, I don't know, to help you stabilize your mood. That is the work of faith, right? And so you are believing God for your healing. You are actually moving forward in your healing. Going to therapy is the proof that you are not allowing the devil to just continue to run havoc in your life, but you are being proactive by seeking support, right? And so the Bible tells us two are better than one. So that's the principle of two being better than one. And let's look at why two are better than one. So there are times that we need help. So Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 12 says two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either one of them falls, one can help the other up. Did you hear that? And so when you're going to therapy, it's somebody helping you up by way of the therapeutic tools that they are using to assist you in the support of your mental well-being. Now it goes on to say, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not easily broken. And so look at what it says in verse 12. Though one can be overpowered, two can defend themselves. And so sometimes, and this is not just physically, this can also mean mentally and emotionally. So sometimes we can be so overpowered by the emotions we're feeling that just having the opportunity to talk to someone, we're not overpowered by those emotions. And this is why, for those of you who come to church by phone, this is very important. You have a dedicated time and space to be fed the word, to be uplifted with prayer, to learn Bible-based ways for living, loving, overcoming, for navigating this life with wisdom, resilience, and grace. For those of you who are members of the Wellness Club, we go even deeper. So if you're a member of the Wellness Club, that's the same principle. You are part of a therapeutic community that comes together live on the phone for the Wellness Club, where we focus on mental well-being, emotional healing through a biblical lens. And so however you may be seeking support, there's no shame in that, in healthy support. So let's begin to just kind of look at how the enemy tries to steal, kill, and destroy, especially around the holidays. It's like a holiday spiritual warfare. This is warfare. It's the warfare against your mind. And so you got to remember that the devil is a thief, right? We just read John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, right? Christ comes so that we may have life and have life more abundantly. So the scripture establishes that the devil is a thief. And where there's a thief, there's going to be a target, because a thief needs something to steal. And so a place that is filled with valuable treasure is going to be the thief's target. So when you're filled with the valuable treasure of the Holy Spirit, the valuable treasure of a calling on your life, the valuable treasure of your gifts which make room for you, the valuable treasure of your talents which you can't bury, but you got to multiply. Baby, the holidays are a prime time to be able to attack those things, to attack your peace, your joy, your hope, your very connection with God. And Satan will use your own family to do so. He'll also use our own thoughts and emotions. And so the thief wants to break in and steal that very joy. And this isn't a new strategy. It's been around since the beginning of time. And you got to recognize it. And so he will come through these front doors. And I want to give you the doors that he comes through. 2 Corinthians 2:11 tells us not to be ignorant of the enemy's devices, right? Otherwise, Satan gets the advantage. And so it's three main doors that he will come through. And we got to be mindful of these doors. And if this is happening in your life, identify the door. Get yourself a composition notebook, identify the door. Number one, he will come through the psychological door. That is the door of our emotions and our thoughts. And that could look like, although there's so many ways, and I'll give just one or two examples. So when he's coming through the psychological door, it could look like scrolling through social media, seeing everyone's perfect looking family photo, their flawless decorations, their seemingly endless pile of gifts. And then it begins to plant seeds of a voice that whispers that my life isn't good enough. And you start comparing yourself. That's the psychological door. It could be reliving something that happened from the past that was very painful, but you survived it. God brought you out of it. But the memory of the voice is whispering to you as if it's happening in the present. Now, you've already survived it, but the memory of it is trying to come for your joy in the present. So you survived the incident years ago, but the voice is coming in this present moment to steal your joy now, to take your mind off of your purpose now, to make you feel like who you are is not enough now. And so you got to be mindful of that. And those are just two examples. There are too many to name. But essentially, when the enemy is coming through the psychological door, he is coming by way of our thoughts and our emotional life. And this is why the Bible tells us things like be transformed by the renewing of our mind, cast down imaginations, take our thoughts captive, guard our heart. There's a reason that the Bible gives us strategy after strategy after strategy after strategy after principle to take care of our soul, which is our psychological life. That is the soul, right? The soul comes from the Greek word psyche, where we get psychology. The soul is the psychological makeup of the human being, how we navigate the world through our mind, our emotions, and our will, which is the seat of our choices. And so eventually, when the enemy is coming through the psychological door, remember that's the soul, it starts by affecting the way we think, which then affects us emotionally, which is going to affect the choice. So to be the choice to give up on a goal or a dream, the choice to not get out of bed for days and not wash yourself. So it will affect our choices as well. And little by little, the enemy is stealing your joy, killing your focus, and destroying the good plans that God has for you that you have eminent domain over. God gave you eminent domain. Whatever you bind in earth is bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth is loosed in heaven. So once God gives it to you, you got eminent domain over that thing. You got to protect and steward what's yours. Second, he'll come through the relationship door. This is the family strife, the family tension, the family toxic dynamics. And so he will come through the relationship door, and you got to recognize that. And it is up to you to protect your peace. And you got to know that you could love the Lord with all your heart and be powerful. That does not mean that the enemy won't come for you. The enemy will come for us all. This is why we can't be ignorant of his devices. And so the family tension can be family tension that erupts over dinner. Maybe when you think about last time you got together with your family, it was just a crazy making time. Maybe your sibling said something so mean. Maybe somebody tried to throw hands with you and you were just in disbelief. Like, how did it escalate to you wanting to fight me at Christmas? We supposed to be celebrating and you want to fight me. And so what'll happen is those old wounds will be reopened, because our brains don't come with memory deletion buttons. If something happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, as long as all your faculties are working mentally, you can remember it like it was yesterday, down to the very details. And so the loneliness will feel amplified because the world is shouting togetherness. But I need you to know that that is such a lie. So many people are hurting during this time, but the world will sell you a dream like this is non-existent. And so 1 Peter 5 and 8 warns us that our adversary, he roams around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And a divided family is a prime target for him to devour. But you have the power to not let him devour your peace, your joy, your purpose. You have to remember that as a child of the Most High God, you are not left defenseless. You are not left helpless, nor are you left hopeless. You have tools. You have your spiritual armor. You got to use your tools. And it's okay to cry. Feel your feelings. That's the whole point of casting your cares on the Lord. It's nothing wrong with saying, Lord, I feel so sad. Lord, I feel like I can't take it no more. Cast your cares on the Lord. Get yourself a composition notebook or a journal so that you can get those feelings out of the brain and body and process the feelings. When you read the Psalms, David is pouring his heart out to God. And then by the end of the Psalm, it always comes back to, Lord, I trust you. It might be said in different ways, but that's the essence of it. It comes back to his relationship with God. But he feels the gamut of all the emotions, the rage when his enemies are coming against him, the deep sadness where he feels like he doesn't want to go on anymore. But he comes to a point where he's leaning into God. And so don't deny your feelings. You can't suppress them because they'll only be louder. But you have to identify the source. That is the key. So when you have thoughts that are like, I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, I can't go on, I'm not cut out for this, you got to know that that's from the enemy. That's not God. Because when you read the word of God, it's very clear that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. It's very clear. And so you got to identify. You may still feel those feelings, but you still want to make sure that in your mind you're identifying that this is not even my voice. This is the voice of the enemy coming for my peace and my purpose. And it may take you a minute to get there. You may have to have a good cry. Maybe you've been in the bed 2 days. You had to have a good cry. But at some point, you got to get back into it. The third door is the physical door. And so this will be physical burnout, physical stress, where you just tired and worn out. And so the enemy will use sheer exhaustion, the exhaustion of just the everyday hustle and bustle of life. So when we are physically exhausted, emotionally drained, and our relationships are toxic, that is going to pull on our emotions. That's going to pull on our thought life, and we become extremely vulnerable. It is hard to feel joyful and peaceful when you are overwhelmed and exhausted. And this is where you got to do like Elijah and rest. Remember when Elijah's in the desert, the angel of the Lord says to him, this journey is too great. Basically, you got to stop, you got to eat, you got to rest. And Elijah, who had a word for the people, right? He was a powerful, powerful prophet. But he still dealt with depression at the end of the day. And he was begging for death, if you read it. And God had to minister to him, to let him know that no. You gotta get it together. You gotta eat, you gotta rest, and you gotta take care of yourself. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. That is the gist of it. And so he's on the run from Jezebel, and this is in 1 Kings 19, so you can read it. It's very long. But 1 Kings 19. And it's interesting because he was in a place again where he was like, I had enough, let me die, right? This is 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4. And it says, Then Elijah walked for a whole day into the desert. He sat down under a bush and asked to die. I have had enough, Lord, he prayed. Let me die. I am no better than my ancestors. Then he laid down under the tree and slept. Suddenly an angel came to him and touched him. Get up and eat, the angel said. Elijah saw near his head a loaf baked over coals and a jar of water, so he ate and drank, then he went back to sleep. So look at what's happening here. He is exhausted, and it's taken a toll on him mentally, emotionally, and physically. And he is at the point where he wants to give up. So what I'm saying is that as human beings, sometimes life will take us there. But you got to remember who you are in God. And so this is when the angel of the Lord ministers to him and says, get up and eat. Look what the angel says, get up and eat. Get up and eat. Essentially, you got to take care of yourself. You got to put some self-care in place. So for him, he had to get up and eat. And he also had to rest, right? He walked a whole day in the desert. That's a lot. And so maybe you, like Elijah, walked a whole day in the desert. Not literally, but meaning you're going nonstop. And so he ate, he drank, and he went back to sleep. And then when you get to verse 7, it says, Later the Lord's angel came to him a second time. The angel touched him and said, Get up and eat. If you don't, the journey will be too hard for you. So essentially, look at what the angel of the Lord is saying to him. If you don't practice self-care, so for him it was getting up and eating. This is going to be too hard for you. And so the things that God has planned for you, the great things, right, that God has planned for you, it also comes with labor. You have to walk out purpose and destiny. And there will be challenges. And some of those challenges are there to grow you and grow me. All challenges don't come from the enemy. Some challenges are to build us up. But you don't want the journey to be too hard. And then it says in verse 8, So Elijah got up and ate and drank. The food made him strong enough to walk for 40 days and nights to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. There Elijah went into a cave and stayed all night. So we see that he had to physically do some things to take care of himself. And it gave him the strength he needed to keep going. So where can it be said that God is saying, you got to take care of yourself? What are the areas? Does that look like prayer? Does that look like Bible reading? Does that look like resting? Does that look like setting boundaries? Does that look like protecting your peace? I don't know what it looks like in your life, but this is a question you can lean into in your prayer time with God. Remember, God is no respecter of persons. If he did it for Elijah, he'll do it for you. If he did it for Elijah, he will do it for you. So these are the 3 doors that Satan will try to come through. So how do you fight back and win? You got to know that the battle is real, that it's not just an area of mental health, but this is also a spiritual area. And so you got to deal with the different layers of it. It can be physical, it can be mental, but it's also spiritual. Ephesians 6 and 12 tells us, Ephesians 6 and 11, let's start with Ephesians 6 and 11, says, Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Then it tells us we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So look at the order. So first is telling us, put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. So it doesn't say so you can avoid the devil's schemes, because you're not going to avoid it. There's evil in the world. But it's so you can take your stand, meaning so you can stand strong, so you can keep going. So you can keep going, even if you rest, even if you need a season of rest, but eventually you get back in there. Every time you fall, you get back up. Then it goes on to tell us, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. But before that, we got to be armored up with all of the pieces of armor. We actually have an Armor of God mug that will definitely help you during your devotional time, that has the 6 pieces of armor printed on it, so that during your morning coffee routine, your tea, whatever you do in the morning, cold pressed juice, as you're sipping from the Armor of God cup, you can make each piece of armor a focused prayer point so that you have a visual reminder of God's word. And so remember that it is an attack not only on your peace, not only on your joy, but it is an attack on your purpose. It is an attack on your purpose. And so, what is your purpose in this season? What are the things that God calls you to do in this season? And this will begin to clue you in why the warfare is so high, because the enemy will use any and everything to get at you. And the holiday season makes perfect sense because there is so much pressure to have this perfect family time that when that's not your reality, it is very easy for depression, anxiety, loneliness to overtake your mind. But if you remember that your family doesn't have the last say in your purpose, they're not the potter. I don't care what they try to say about you, how they try to make you feel. They're not the potter. God is the potter, and the human being is the clay. And so it is God molding you for your next. But you also got to remember the spiritual warfare that's happening. So put on your armor. And in addition to that, these are some other things that you can do. Number one, acknowledge your feelings. You don't have to feel jolly and festive. Allow yourself to acknowledge any sadness, any grief if you are grieving the loss of someone, any stress you may be feeling during the holidays. Be honest with yourself about your emotions. That's the first step to managing emotions. Being honest about the emotion, not suppressing it. You can't give to God what you don't first acknowledge to yourself. So acknowledge your feelings. Don't suppress them. Lord, I'm so sad. Lord, I'm really grieving and missing. And then you insert the name of the person you're missing. Lord, I feel so stressed and out of it. Pour your heart out to God. Acknowledge those feelings. Put it on paper also to get it out of the brain and body. 2, prioritize self-care. That includes your peace. Even if it means that you stop being the go-to person for family you can never go to. Yes, I said it. Stop being the go-to person for family you can never go to. Prioritize your self-care. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. You got to live to be able to walk in purpose. And so this can include making sure you're getting enough sleep, you're eating healthy, you're setting aside time for some sort of physical activity, that you are engaging in activities that bring joy and relaxation. It could be reading a good book, taking a bubble bath. It could be meditating on the scriptures. And this will benefit your mental well-being and empower you to take control of your mental health during the holiday seasons. Watch your diet and limit social media if need be. Maybe you need to give yourself a social media break during the holidays. I don't know. You be prayerful about it, and the answers are going to come to you. 3, build a support system. If you come to church by phone, you have a support system. If you are part of the wellness club, you have a support system. And so foster meaningful connections. And outside of church by phone and the wellness club, and I'm really speaking to those who feel like they don't have anybody. But try to foster meaningful connections, whether it's through personal gatherings, phone calls. If you live far, maybe it's video chats. And that can help to combat feelings of isolation. You can even initiate conversations about shared interests or plan activities like a virtual game night. And if you don't have that, don't beat yourself up. Again, come to church by phone. At least you are being fortified for the week. You come on Sundays, you're built up in the word, you hold on to that word for the week, and you are built up for the week. And this is why I'm so stern with my comment section, because I can't speak for no other person who's on YouTube. But in this community, we are about building each other up. And yeah, we talk about discernment. We talk about avoiding people who want to harm you, people who hate on you, who are envious of you. But at the end of the day, we're also a community that's about building one another up. So when people come in the comment sections with the craziness, we block and delete. 4, you got to be realistic. This is one of the hardest things, because the holidays will have people setting unrealistic expectations. You don't know people by holiday Hallmark cards and holiday Hallmark movies. You know people one way and one way only, by their fruit. The Bible says we know them by their fruit. That includes family. You don't even know your family by titles. You can have a family that's the title of brother, but if their fruit is hating on you, that's what it is. And that's hard to swallow. Think about Joseph, how hard it was for him to have to swallow that his own brothers hated him and threw him in a pit. But did that stop God's ultimate plan for Joseph's life? No. Joseph went through some hard times, but he eventually became prime minister of Egypt. So that's why you have to focus. So regardless of what happened to Joseph, he constantly multiplied his talent. He constantly allowed his gift to make room for him, his gift to interpret dreams that came from God. Even in jail, he was interpreting dreams. We know it came from God, but he was interpreting dreams, even in jail, even in the place he didn't want to be. And so are you still allowing your gifts to make room for you, even if you're in a place you don't want to be? Next, number 5, create new traditions. If the holidays bring up difficult memories, consider creating new traditions. If your family left you out and they're just being very mean to you during the holidays, that's hard. Feel your feelings, cry it out with the Lord. But you take back your life. You still got to build a life for yourself, regardless of how your family's acting as an adult, because it's for adults. You got to build a life for yourself. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And so if the holidays bring up difficult memories or put you in difficult situations where you feel mentally, emotionally, or physically unsafe around certain family members, consider creating new traditions that bring you relaxation and joy. Maybe you're volunteering at a homeless shelter to feed the homeless. Maybe you're trying out a new activity, or you're simply spending time with people who lift your spirit, or you're spending time with yourself. Some of the most relaxing holidays I've had were with myself. With myself. Doing exactly what I wanted to do. And so maybe you've always wanted to go look at the decorative windows in your town during the holidays. And you're looking forward to that. And that costs you nothing. You're just looking at the decorative windows. That could be a new holiday tradition. Doesn't have to cost money. And so begin to think of what are some things that I can do to create new traditions so that I can begin to feel joy with my own life, even if the people who I'm related to bring me stress and drama. I'm not going to let them take my joy this year. They did it last year. I'm not going to give them that power this year. I will create new traditions for me and my children if you're a parent. If it's just you, I will create a new tradition for me. Maybe I'll scrapbook during Christmas. Maybe I'm going to watch old black and white movies and I'm going to cook my favorite meal. And I'm going to do things that uplift me. It don't have to make sense to nobody else. It just has to uplift you. And if need be, last but not least, talk with a mental health professional. Talk with a therapist. So if you're grieving the loss of a loved one or you're coping with really complex family dynamics, the holiday season can be incredibly challenging. So seek support from a local therapist in your community or a support group which can provide a safe space. And so those are some things that you can begin to do to get your life back on track. Because again, the devil is not only after your peace, especially during the holidays, but he's after your purpose. I want you to see the connection, because when he steals your peace, what happens is we become so sad, so disoriented, so emotionally down, that we're so focused on how sad and bad we feel that we're not moving forward in vision, goals, and dreams. And it's okay, again, to take a break if you need it. But there's a difference between taking a break and giving up on purpose. And so you got to clarify that for yourself. Am I just taking a break, or am I giving up on purpose? Because a break has a start date and an end date. So you got to have an end date for it to be a break. I'm taking a 1 week break. I'm taking a 7-day break. I'm taking a 2-week break. And so I know this video, my videos are long. This one is longer than usual because I really want to take my time and not rush over this. Because this is important for people who are going through it during the holiday season. And know that that's the plan of the enemy. And just how the enemy comes through pre-existing trauma, he also comes during the holiday season because he's an opportunist. A thief is an opportunist, right? A thief, most thieves are going to look for a house where the door is up. This is it. The thief is going to look for a house where there's no alarm system, where maybe you left a door unlocked or a window open unknowingly. Why? Because that makes his job or her job easier. They could just come in, rob all the valuables, go undetected, and then move on to the next house, leaving that individual or family in a state of despair. And it's the same thing. Now that's in the natural. It's the same thing spiritually. When there are open doors, an open psychological door, an open relationship door, meaning you didn't set boundaries with that person. You didn't decide, I don't care what my mother says or does. I don't care what my brother says or does. I'm not backing down on my boundary. So if I made the decision this year that I'm not going to Uncle Bubba's house or Aunt Sally's house because it's just too much drama, no manipulation, no amount of phone calls, no amount of telling me I'm a terrible person and a horrible daughter or the worst son in the world is going to change my mind. I will not be manipulated. I will not be gaslit. I will not be taken advantage of. You will not treat me like I am less than a human being. Now, you ain't got to say all that to the person, but that's what you're putting in your mind. So that's how you close open relationship doors that lead to the stealing, the killing, and destroying of your peace and purpose. I will not even entertain conversations that attempt to steal my peace. And if you come at me with negativity, I will refuse to engage you. You get a vowel. Watch my video, give them a vowel. A-E-I-O. You don't even get a conversation out of me. How are you going to make me talk? I can't stop you from talking foolery, but you can't force me, make me, cause me, trigger me to engage in your foolery. When you're talking foolery to me, you're talking to a wall. You're talking to a wall. You're like paper blowing in the wind. You get nothing, not a zilch from me. And so those are the ways that you begin to guard your heart. Those are the ways that you begin to put checks and balances in place, because at the end of the day, as an adult, you got to take care of you. And so I hope that this was helpful for those who are really struggling during this time. I hope this really just reminded you that it's not just about the devil stealing your peace. He's after your purpose. Because if he can stall you, stifle you, and stagnate you, you will not birth out everything God wants to do for you, with you, and through you. The only one who can stop that is you. The devil can put all kind of interference in your path, but you are the only one who stops it. And when you understand the power you have as a child of God, you begin to move different. We say these scriptures, but do we really understand the power? When you say things like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, do you mean it? Do you mean it? Because if you mean it, then all things also includes not letting the devil steal your joy? Yes or no? When you say things like, I have the power to trample on serpents and scorpions, and you see that the devil is using a relationship, a close family member, to make you feel worthless, and you get into that tug of war with that person, are you really believing you could trample on serpents and scorpions? Because if you're going to trample on serpents and scorpions and the devil is using a family member to defecate on your self-esteem and your confidence, you got to say, I'm going to trample on this thing by not even giving it power. I'm going to trample on this thing by not even allowing you to take my joy. Maybe you're having a piece of cake. Oh, you too fat to be eating that cake. You need to be eating a salad. And you're just eating a piece of cake at the family gathering, talking to your aunt. And here comes the cousin who always says the meanest things to you. You have a choice to make right in that moment when they say that to you. Are you going to allow them to trigger you, or are you going to trample on that serpent? You have a choice right in that moment. You can cry and be like, why are you so mean? You know why they mean. You know what I mean, because in that moment they're yielded to Satan. You know the answer spiritually. You ain't got to ask. You know them by their fruit. You dealt with them for years. You know the fruit you're dealing with. You know why. They're envious. They're mean-spirited. They're resentful. They want to hide. Whatever the issue is, you know. You've dealt with it long enough. So it's no more why they doing it. It's what are you going to do about it when they do it. That's the question. But you too fat to be eating that cake. Yeah, well, I'm going to enjoy this cake. I don't know what to tell you. Close your eyes and don't look at me. They're going to get mad because they want to steal your joy. They want to take your power away. But when you show that person, nothing you say to me will move me emotionally, even though I know you're trying to go for the jugular, hit below the belt. You can't hit below the belt, even if you tried. The reason you can't hit below the belt is because I'm suited and booted, baby, in the armor of God. I got on the belt of truth. That's what I got on. And the truth is, regardless of my size, I am still a child of God. He's got plans for me. He's got a hope in the future for me. And I'm using that example. It can be something else. Oh, you're such a mess and your life is such a mess. Oh, you still drive that old car. Whatever it is that they say to you, you have a choice. You can trample on serpents and scorpions. So remember your tools, whether you choose to go to the family gathering with boundaries in place, or whether you choose to create new traditions and not go. That choice is yours. But know that you are not helpless as a child of God. You are not powerless. And you are definitely not hopeless. So, I hope that has helped. I would encourage you to visit with us on Church by Phone. You're not visiting physically, but on your phone. We're here every Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the video description box. That'll take you to our ministry website, where you can find out the number and how to join us on Sundays. If you're not a member of the Wellness Club, you're really missing out. The Wellness Club, we focus on mental self-care through a biblical lens. We meet the first and third Wednesday of every month by telephone conference call. And it's one of the features of channel membership. One of the tiers, I should say, of channel membership, where you get access to a live call. So I'll also leave the link for that. The link will take you to channel membership, but make sure that you join at the wellness tier if you want access to that call. And if you don't have the book, Simple Prayers for Spiritual Warfare, I would definitely encourage you to get that book, because warfare is at an all-time high. And you want the tools and the tactics to be able to stand in victory. And Simple Prayers for Spiritual Warfare will help you with that. So with that being said, have a happy holiday. And if you can't have a happy holiday, have a proactive holiday. Have a proactive and protective holiday. How about that? How about we say that? Have a proactive and a protective holiday, meaning be proactive about your self-care plan and be protective over your peace, your purpose, your joy, and your identity in God. God bless.